keynote address from the head of product at MYOB, Valantis Vais, and as the head of product and as senior executive at MYOB, it's always great and we always appreciate the likes of Valantis to come along and talk to all of us directly for user groups. And being the vendor of the product, we can't get better than hearing it from the horse's mouth. So it's a great pleasure to welcome you here, Valantis, and over to you.
I'm incredibly excited to be able to speak with the most important people in making this advanced platform a success, which are the users. So as Grant mentioned, I'm the head of product for MYOB for Enterprise, and I joined in late 2021, and I'm incredibly excited by the power of the platform and the things that I've already started to see many users and businesses be able to use the platform to be able to deliver heaps of different business impact. So with that, and let me pull up some slides that I've prepared for today's conversation to kind of take you through some of the activities that I think are worth sharing with you. And these are some of the things that we did late last year. So where I wanted to start was in a piece of work that we got commissioned that was focused on helping to understand the challenges that were being faced by businesses across Australia and New Zealand. And what kind of spurred this research was very much that we were talking to individual customers who were having these various challenges. And what we wanted to understand was how prevalent were these challenges? Were they unique cases in terms of the prospects that we were talking to? Or was it more broadly an issue that needed to be overcome across Australia and New Zealand? And so what we did is we conducted a study with Forrester, who spoke to 420 different respondents and tried to understand the challenges that they faced. And what we found were three main areas of challenges. And what we saw was, the first was that we had ineffective, inefficient, and outdated businesses and people management systems that were costing businesses time, money, and growth. And what that meant was that we were seeing people who were working in manual spreadsheets, wasting time, wasting money, and actually struggling to kind of find those growth opportunities. The second thing that we found, and this study was conducted kind of essentially in the middle of COVID, and what people were already starting to identify at this stage was to succeed in a post-COVID world, that mid-market businesses were having to seize the opportunity that were being presented by these new approaches to business software. So what we were seeing was some businesses were well and truly leaning into the opportunities that we were being created and were seizing those opportunities, versus others were being much more cautious and essentially being held back. And then the final aspect that came through in terms of what we started to identify is kind of what were the success factors? What were the things that people were most likely to do to kind of be successful? And this kind of concept of a future fit unified business platform approach that is enabled by the cloud kind of came out. And what that enabled us to identify is what are the underlying systems that help kind of people be successful. Now, obviously, I don't want to take away all of the thunder from the report itself, so I would recommend that you kind of have a look and Google kind of Seizing Advantage MYOB and be able to read that report. But being someone who loves data, I couldn't hold myself back today in terms of sharing some of those kind of key insights that we found that you will also read about in the report. And I'll keep it to 6. The first was the size of the challenge and the amount of money wasted. About 2.7 million or 2.2 NZ dollars were lost in productivity because of their current solutions. This is predominantly because of wasted time. And what we found was on average 12.5 hours wasted per week per employee. Now, when I heard this number for the first time, I was floored and actually a little bit skeptical. That sounds like a lot of time. That's more than 1 day per person per week wasted. And then I kind of reflected on the businesses that we've spoken to, where you hear about the financial controller who works a little later in the evenings to be able to consolidate reports, or the person in the warehouse who does some work on the weekend because they can't get the data to match between 2 different systems. And then you start to believe it, you start to see it, you start to see it in the tiredness of people's faces, that they try to kind of work around the systems as opposed to benefiting from the systems. The other one that kind of jumped out at me was that 94% recognized their system challenges were hurting growth. So this isn't just wasted money in terms of the activities that they're doing, but it's also holding them back in terms of where they're actually trying to go with their business. The other thing surprised me, 54% are still on on-premise solutions. Now, for most of you who are I'm speaking to today, you're some of the fortunate few who have already started to make the move to the cloud and are starting to see those benefits of agility and efficiency, as opposed to the 54 who are still kind of left behind. The other thing that jumped out was about not being fit for purpose. And this was that comment I made earlier around having a platform that is able to meet your needs. What was fascinating in this report was that you had some businesses that had adopted new systems, but hadn't been able to kind of customize and tailor them to the needs of their organization, which was, so they had made the right choice potentially, or maybe they hadn't, but were also then unable to kind of make it meet the needs of their business. And then the final aspect, which is critical, and this kind of stems from our whole philosophy around our business platform, is that 45% of solutions are siloed. So think about the environment where you have multiple individual systems that don't quite communicate. So individually, you're kind of getting some of the value, but the value that you truly see, and many people were seeing, was in terms of connecting all of that information. Now, one final aspect that I want to leave you with, and I put this in a nice big slide because I think this is the most important one, is that businesses with future fit platforms grow faster than their industry peers by 3.2 times. Think about what you'd be able to achieve if your business was going 3.2 times faster than your competitors. And what was found, this acceleration in growth and this acceleration relative to their peers was purely driven by the ability for them to kind of adopt a future fit platform, which MYOB Advanced is one. The final aspect that came out from this research, and this is also from customer conversations that I'm having all the time, and this kind of quote was something that sat with me quite deeply in terms of what are the things that our customers are trying to achieve by taking up the advanced platform. And this quote was, "Scaling up my business without scaling up my costs," is really at the core of what we are trying to do. We are trying to provide you with a platform that enables you to grow your business in a way that doesn't drive significantly more operating costs, because you see the automation benefits, you see the connectivity across different parts of your business, and you're able to make more efficient decisions. Now, I know that's a lot of information about kind of some of the things that we're seeing in the market, but I wanted to make sure that kind of some of the things that we're hearing from users and some of the things that we're hearing from kind of business decision makers is also kind of the things that we're using to drive our roadmap. So if you kind of connect with some of those comments that I've made earlier or some of those facts that I've seen, then you can be quite confident that we're actively trying to solve those challenges. Now, the other thing that I wanted to share, and I'm not going to go into a detailed product roadmap and a set of features, because our release notes are quite detailed, and for some of you, I know that you quite enjoy reading those release notes, but I just want to give you some of the real high points in terms of what was delivered in 2021. And the key things you'll see here is us continuing to develop capabilities that go beyond the boundaries of a typical ERP system. So what you'll see there is where we announced and kind of released advanced construction with a Procore connector, which helps you go further than what an ERP solution would typically do for construction. The second aspect is workforce management. Payroll is obviously a core component of your solution, but workforce management is where you can get some real efficiencies when it comes to managing your workforce, both in terms of scheduling and making sure you have the right quantity of staff on the job at the right time, but also in terms of making sure that you're meeting those award requirements and making sure you're staying compliant. The other thing that we were very excited to start to release was payroll for New Zealand. So this is our advanced payroll product in New Zealand. Australian businesses have been fortunate enough to have it for a while, but it's out also in early adopters and soon to be in general availability in New Zealand. Advanced professional services is something that we're continuing to develop, and we have now released, and we've seen some great traction early on. And then also MYOB Greysoft, which was an acquisition that we made, which is targeting very much our accountants. Now, those were some of the key kind of headline aspects in terms of the things that we released. The other thing, though, is not to underestimate the huge list of other features that we released. So over 120 new features across the MYOB Advanced platform. And for me, this is where the role of your partner is critical. It's impossible for you to stay across all of the different features that exist across the Advanced platform. And we will continue to be adding more and more features on a month-on-month, quarter-on-quarter, release-on-release. Now, the thing that's most important here that I kind of want to leave you with as well is this concept that your partners, by understanding the two most important things, one, your business, to the platform are able to continue to should be coming to you with ideas in terms of how you can continue to kind of automate and continue to benefit from the investment that you have made in the platform, but then also opportunities for you to expand on the platform itself. Now, our ecosystem is something that we spend a lot of time thinking about and a lot of time focused on. One of the things that I recognize as a head of product, as much as I love to build product and as much as I love to provide experiences for customers that kind of meet their needs, I know that I can't build everything as much as I'd love to. So the ecosystem is critical. There will be certain applications or certain use cases that are best served by our app marketplace. And this is where you'll see us continue to invest in our ecosystem, both through the breadth of APIs and capabilities that we are offering, but also in terms of attracting more and more ISVs and app providers to be able to join us. So today, for example, there's over 80 plus apps in the marketplace, 360 ISVs, and we now also have these 5 strategic partnerships. And what we saw in 2021 was that continued growth. So we added 31 new apps in the marketplace, 108 new ISVs joined us, and then 3 new strategic partnerships. And those are the 3 that are kind of up here on the slide at the moment in terms of NetStock, EasyCollect, and Velixo. The one that I kind of want to touch on in a little bit more detail is Velixo, which is really enhancing the power of the reporting that's possible on the advanced platform. So the advanced platform has an incredible power in its ability to have structured data and information about everything that's happening in your business. And Velixo brings the power and flexibility of Excel and the power of that underlying data that you already have in advance to be able to surface up those insights to the right people at the right time to be able to make those better decisions. Now, what's planned for 2022? We've got 6 main focus areas for the advanced platform. And each of these areas are targeting areas of focus that you should start to now link back to the things that I was talking about at the start of the presentation around those challenges that we're trying to solve for businesses. The areas that we're focused on is, one is around the Acumatica releases. So Acumatica releases huge sets of capabilities twice per year. And we are continuing to ensure that we are able to broaden and streamline how we take all those capabilities and surface them up in the advanced platform, making sure that you have access to kind of the latest and greatest of what's available in those core updates. The second aspect that you'll see us continue to focus on in 2022 is broadening those industry capabilities. So as I mentioned, in 2021, we talked about construction and manufacturing. We will continue to extend in manufacturing and construction. So you'll start to see more of that solution integrating more deeply in the workflows that exist across the entire platform, but also continuing to tailor some of those workflows to be more appropriate for businesses in Australia. So one good example is retentions when it comes to construction. Growing the ecosystem, I just talked about our kind of success in 2021 in terms of growing our ecosystem. This continues to be a priority for us in 2022 and most likely 2023 and beyond. So think of it, more apps that are easier for customers to have access to. That's what we're essentially trying to achieve. Advanced payroll. Having a payroll solution that's deeply connected to your ERP and workforce management solution is incredibly powerful. And what we're looking here is to continue to make it faster and easier for larger customers, continuing to benefit from those capabilities while also staying compliant. Advanced workforce management, heaps of enhancements coming on that product, both in terms of deepening the connectivity of advanced workforce management into payroll and therefore into the broader platform, but then also continuing to extend the capabilities of its core solution. So we're kind of working on at the moment an ability for us to do recruitment, which will be released sometime in 2022. And then the final aspect is scale. As we've continued to become more and more successful and we have more and more businesses coming onto the advanced platform, we're continuing to invest in terms of how do we make it even easier for you as users to be able to get access to the most performant system as you continue to grow on the platform. So these are things like making it easier to do sandboxes, making it easier for you to go through deployments and upgrades and things like that to make it much more seamless. So with that, I know this is a ton of information, and I suspect during the day today, you're going to get a lot more information. But the key thing I want to leave you with, and with the final thought, is that at MYOB, we very much see ourselves as being a business management platform provider And we see the advanced platform as being kind of our future, and our future in terms of how we continue to offer cloud capabilities that are connected and adaptable to help meet and solve the needs of mid-sized businesses across Australia and New Zealand. So just again, I wanted to thank Grant for kind of inviting me here today to be able to share with you some of the things that we saw in the Forrester research, some of the things that we delivered in 2021, and then also where we're focused in 2022. So back to you, Grant.